I am so glad that people are now speaking out on sexual abuse in the church, because even as a young girl growing up in Zimbabwe, there were so many cases where we used to hear on the news or read in newspapers of prophets who were taking advantage of vulnerable women who were either looking to have children. Yes, because it's very strange that, a woman who is going through pregnancy issues, that, they were being vulnerable to the so-called men of God or prophets to pray for them, to help them. And yet these men were taking it upon themselves to test. You wonder what they are testing. You're not testing soup where you put in ingredients and see what's going to happen. These are people who have got issues they are going through, and they need help, and not for someone else to take advantage of them. And it's still happening today. And it's sad for me, because I see nowadays, or with social media, people make fun of real issues that are really happening in society, and they make jokes out of it. Yet to other people, it is really something that affects them for the rest of their lives. So that is why we need to start having these conversations and making sure that these perpetrators are put to justice, because they do not deserve the titles we have given them. They do not deserve the honor that we give them. They need help. Young girls who are vulnerable, and they found themselves being sexually abused by the so-called prophets. And it was something that was then, that is more than 20 years ago, when we used to hear on the news all these cases coming up. And so for me, this is exciting that, as a church, people are now speaking out, and people are coming out and saying the truth that has been hidden for years. And so many people have been abused or violated by the church, especially the people in power, and they have felt like they have no voice. So this is very encouraging, and I encourage other people to continue to speak out their truth and set themselves free, because so many people have suffered at the hands of leaders in the church, and it's high time we begin to speak the truth. Even as a church today, I encourage even church leaders today to speak about such issues. If anyone has been involved or anyone has been scared to talk about these issues, let's talk about them. Let's talk about these issues that are happening today in our churches, and let's get the conversation happening. Because as one of my best speakers says, she says that silence breeds violence and abuse. The Lord is there is liberty. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is life. For I live by the power of the Holy Ghost. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, I am free. I am free. I am free. I am free. Jesus' blood avails for me. And I live by the power of the Holy Ghost. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, I am free. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is life. There is so much freedom. We all have a choice to be who we want to be. I think that is one of the greatest gifts that we've been given, the gift of choice. Hi everybody, welcome to a meditation on domestic violence and abuse. My name is Tinashela. Sexual abuse. Today, when we received our paper, this is what was on the front page. And for a few weeks now, there's been so many issues that have been said and so many articles on the Catholic Church and the church at large. And so much is happening and being said, and it just been stirring my heart to talk about sexual abuse in the church, particularly because I am a Christian to begin with, and I have had a few incidences and issues that I've been involved with that have something to do with abuse in the church and people involved in the church. Matthew 19, and it's from verse 11 to 12. And Jesus was teaching about celibacy. But he said to them, all cannot accept this saying, but only those to whom it has been given. For there are eunuchs who were born thus from their mother's womb, and there are eunuchs who were made eunuchs by men, and there are eunuchs who have made themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven's sake. He who is able to accept it, let him accept it. I remember when I had just left my abusive relationship in 2008, I remember telling my pastor that I never wanted to be involved with any man whatsoever. I told her that I was going to become a nun, and I just wanted to live a life of celibacy going forwards. I did not want to know any man, no relationship, nothing. And she just laughed at me, and I can also laugh at myself now, because that is definitely not my calling, and that is definitely not me, because right now I am a very happily married woman. So that wouldn't have been for me. And it's for so many other people. It is not for them, but they have been either forced or they have forced themselves into celibacy when they cannot even handle it themselves. And as it is a choice, they have the choice to be free. Because where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. There is nowhere in the Bible, like we've just read, where it is forced, where anyone is forced into celibacy. It is a personal choice. Some are born like that and they can handle it. Some decide and they can handle it. But if you know that you cannot handle it, you don't have to die with passion or start abusing other people, start abusing the vulnerable people for a personal choice that you have made. God forgives. If you find that you cannot handle something, you let it be. Like for myself, you know how I said I wanted to be a nun after I left my relationship because it was so horrible and it was so terrible. I found myself, I can't say that I was addicted, but I found myself at times, you know, watching pornography. I found myself, you know, going on to looking at things that were sexual because I had been in an intimate relationship and I was probably longing that, and I had so many other. And here I was trying to tell myself I'm going to be a nun. How can you be a nun and do those things? There was no way I was going to be like that. I had just left the relationship and I went for a conference. I traveled to go to a conference. And a very well-known apostle who was happily married with 5 children, loving his family and everything. When the conference finished, he started flirting and chatting with me. And even when I left that conference, I had so many calls and I refused to answer them. In the beginning, I answered, and then when the calls became a lot, I decided to block the number and not answer the calls. and I talked to my pastors regarding this. There are some people who use their titles. There are people who use their positions in the church to do unthinkable things. And I don't call for people to hate, but I call for people to speak out. Silence breeds violence and abuse. The more we are silent on issues that affect other people, the more it carries on. So this is an encouragement to those who have gone through something regarding the church and who are so scared. Whatever it is you might have been threatened with, that you will go to hell, or God will punish you, or you'll be put in prison, whatever lies you've been told, it is not you who is going to go to hell. It is not you who is going to be imprisoned, but the person who is perpetrating the violence and abuse is the one who will go to hell or prison, not you. So I call upon people who have stayed in fear of the unknown to speak out and seek help. Unfortunately, we might never know really what happened with this young girl who has come forth and said she was sexually abused, because the alleged perpetrator has allegedly committed suicide. So this is a story that we'll never know. But for those who are still alive, for those who are still out there, there is still hope for you. A young girl a few months ago, she sent me a message and she was asking me what she needed to do, because a priest had sent her a video, a pornographic video. I mean, this is real stuff that is happening in the world. No matter how nice or good a person is, many people who are out there, they are using their positions to do the unthinkable. But the people who hurt us the most are not people that we do not know. Mostly, it is people that we know. It is people who are in our closed groups, people whom we trust. That is why we need to always keep our eyes open. This is a very sensitive issue, but it's an issue that we all need to start talking about. It is happening in our society. It is happening in the churches. It is happening in religious groups, that we have people using their positions to do the wrong things and then threatening people. There is no need to be scared. There is no need to be fearful. Speak your truth, for the truth will set you free. You keep the truth inside you, like sexual abuse. It impacts you physically and emotionally, and it can lead to long-term mental health issues, including anxiety and post-traumatic stress disorders. So I applaud this young girl for speaking her truth. There is no one who is perfect. And if you find yourself in a position where you are a priest or a nun, and you find yourself that you can't control yourself, it's okay to give up your position or your titles. It's okay to be who you are. Don't do it for anyone else, but do it for yourself. Free yourself. Sex is not a sin. Sexual desires are not a sin. God is the one who created sex. We need to be open to discuss perceptions on such issues that are happening around us. Let us not protect perpetrators. I remember I was going to a particular church at a certain time, and a few of the young girls came up to me and they were complaining about the way the pastor used to greet the ladies. And people just started leaving. They all left, all these women and girls who were going through this, and no one said anything. And the more we keep quiet, the more this continues. And who knows where it ends. We need to speak our truth so that this can stop. Because the painful thing about violence and abuse is that it can be prevented. To take positions or to have titles. If it's not for you, or if you decide this is what you want and then you realize it's not for you, it's okay to let go. Let go and set yourself free.